Hello and welcome to another Drive-In Double Feature. I'm Ryan,
I'm Nathan.
and this is the podcast where we talk about two movies a week every Tuesday and Thursday. But before we get into anything, we have a Patreon over at patreon.com/Drive-In Double Feature podcast. You know, Nathan, I was at the grocery store the other
That's
day,
what a great catchphrase.
and I'm looking in the cereal aisle, and like one guy like would just we were both looking at the cereal, and he was just like, "Can you believe the prices of this nowadays?" And I was like, "I know, it's crazy, right?" He's like, "For the price of this cereal, I could have gotten a subscription over at patreon.com/Drive and Double Feature podcast. You know, those guys, Nathan and Ryan, they always provide great content. They give me my flick fights, they give me fun conversations,
Mhm.
so much content for only $5. Like I can't believe like that's all they're offering for. But it doesn't affect any of the regular content." I said, it's a great deal over there. And he said, "Yeah, if only they knew how great they were." And I was like, "I think they know how you feel."
Wow, that's really cute. I like that. Really sweet. Just
I
very, yeah. You don't want to reveal yourself
No, no, no. He'll
because
hear
then
it on
you
the pod.
because then he would have seen your face, and then when you see someone's face, and then it's like you put a face to the voice. It's like I don't like him anymore.
Well, he's such a fan of the podcast. Like, yep, that was me, buddy. That was me talking. But
Uh-huh. Hmm.
anyway, like I said, it doesn't affect any regular content. But today we are talking about 1978's Ice Castles, directed by Donald Wrye, and this movie is a fairly well-known romantic movie from the 70s. It's stars Lynn Holly Johnson. Now, Nathan, I don't know if you've noticed, but apparently we've talked about this girl quite frequently in this podcast without us
I
knowing.
know it's our
Oh,
third time, right?
yeah. She was
Yeah.
in she was in Watch Her in the Woods, and she was in For Your Eyes Only, and now she's in this.
God, yeah, we just are huge Lynn Holly Johnson fans. Which
I
I guess
guess
she's an
so.
ice skater too, so I don't know.
Well, that was primarily her profession. So she
Mhm.
was a really big competitive ice skater in the 70s, and then she did retire from the sport and then joined the Ice Capades,
Mhm.
and which was like a big ice show at the time. And she was getting noticed around Hollywood, and this is actually her debut movie. Like, and they offered her specifically this movie because they had a script for like an ice skating movie, and they were thinking like, oh, we can just get like a big name, put them in there, it'll be fine. Like it'll. But once they were seeing like how much, like they couldn't like just fake it. Like they're like, okay, we're actually gonna have to actually get like a real ice skater to be in this movie because it's gonna be look way too weird
Yeah.
if we don't have like an actual ice skater.
The editing would probably be all over the place because well, we'll talk about it a little later, but there's one scene where it's edited. Well, yeah, I'll talk about it later. But yes, it would be tough to do.
Yeah. So it's it very clearly like they weren't going to be able to do that. So they did hire Lynn Holly Johnson, who plays Alexis in this movie.
Mhm.
And she sort of plays like a really young, up and coming ice skater.
Well,
And
not young enough to be an ice skater. Not
well,
she's a
that's the
little
thing.
old for that.
She's too old. They do make that point is like how old she is.
Hmm.
And because she does kind of like ice skating and competitively, like locally. And she tries to go up for sectionals, but her dad's not having it at all, who's played by Tom Skerritt.
Yeah, Tom Skerritt's like, no, I can't. I'm not letting my little girl go. And it's her coach, her local coach, is played by Colleen Dewhurst, and she used to be like a figure skater. She like won regionals or something. Not like amazing or anything, but she's like, you got to give her a chance. Just give her that one chance to win. It's
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, she really sees a lot of potential in Alexis, but Tom Skerritt just not having it at all. And was
No.
really just adamant, like it's like I need you here, I need you to take care of me. Like I don't want you running off and taking care, because her dad's like a drunk too, I guess is like what
Mm-hmm.
they allude to, and he
Mm-hmm.
just like a big, like a well-known town drunk. But um, anyway, she does go and play in compete in the sectionals, and she doesn't win. She gets like
Yeah.
second place.
Yeah, because well, they blame it on because she's an unknown is kind of the deal
Yeah.
because she's not really well known in the she when she goes there, all the other girls, of course, they make fun of her because she's wearing like a weird dress compared to everybody else. But I mean, I don't know anything about figure skating. I watch it on the Olympics, so like I saw it,
Oh,
I was like, okay, it's good. I don't know if it's like the best of the best.
yeah, I wouldn't know what to look for, but she does this really beautiful routine that everyone loves. And
Hmm.
like she just gets like these really low scores from the judges, and everyone's just like, "What?"
Yeah,
Like
that
I
and
could
they
not believe it.
and don't they chant for her to go out again so they could give her
Yeah,
roses? Yeah.
yeah.
We haven't even brought up because the start of the movie is actually her boyfriend comes back. I guess her boyfriend leaves, played by Robbie Benson, the voice of the
Mhm.
Beast, which is what I would know him from. Um, he shows up and he just quits everything. I guess is his. He's afraid to live. That's his trait. He really wants to be in hockey, but I guess he just never feels right in that role.
Well, because he was going to college or whatever,
Hmm.
or like in school, and he's just like, I quit everything, I dropped out, and then everyone's just like, "What are you, an idiot or something?" type of
Hmm.
thing,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
and he does go and play in the hockey league, while Alexis is off like training, but he kind of like has his own little like subplot or whatever where everyone's
Mhm.
just telling him like it's like you're too smart to play this game. Like even like his coach is like, it's like why you want to like only idiots need to be out on the ice getting hit. Like you don't need to be out there like
Which
getting hit.
which I think was insane that he's like, yeah, you're way too smart to be a hockey player. Well, he's even like, you're too smart and handsome to be a hockey player. You're gonna get beat up out there. Use your brain. And but instead he's like, no, just tell me if I made it. Tell me if I made the cut, man. Like I don't care what you say. Very emotional. This movie is very emotional. It's not a
It's a very
yeah,
melodramatic movie.
yes.
uh,
Um,
but she does get noticed right away, and from like another coach out there who's played by Jennifer Warren,
mhm.
and like who sees like a lot of potential in her, and she really is like, you need to come over here to this like special school, like training camp, and we'll get you out there, we'll get you ready, and that way you'll be ready for the Olympics one day.
Yeah, yeah, and she like takes it like very, very seriously. There's that one scene because Alexis or Lexie wants to show off to all the other figure skaters, so she does a
Well,
triple. Oh, go ahead.
before all that,
Okay, yes.
she, her once again, her dad's like
No.
doesn't want her to go,
Hmm.
and after like tearfully like begging him like, please let me go, this might be my only chance type of thing, and he finally agrees. She's like, oh, my daddy's finally growing up. And but there's a scene where she arrives at the dormitory, and
Hmm.
there's this girl like
Hmm.
walking her and showing her around. She's like, you're not a lesbian, are you? Like she's like,
Yeah,
she's like, it's okay if you are, but I just thought it was weird, like how they just come up to you and kiss you right away. It just takes you really off guard, like
yeah, one of the best characters in the movie because she's kind of like she's a very small character, but just kind of pops up every once in a while, helps her out because there's a point where Lexie's just like totally pissed and she's like, they're just gonna deal with it. You are the best, and she like talks just like that, just like really fast, just says whatever's
yeah.
on her mind.
Well, she's younger because, like we said, Alexis is very much older than everybody else. And when I say that, I mean, she's like 16, 18 or whatever, and everyone else is like 12 or 14 or something.
Exactly, she's a has been at that. She would be a has been at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, like at that age point, she's like, this is her last
Yeah.
at that
Well,
age.
well, how long? How she is 16 in this movie, right? Does she
Yeah.
get older? She doesn't get older, right? It doesn't take
No, I
place
don't
over a
think
few
so.
years. Oh boy. Uh,
Well, I don't, well, maybe after the incident, maybe I think there was a time skip, maybe, but
oh
I don't
well,
know.
yeah. For the incident, yeah, but before that, no, she is 16 for the beginning of the movie. Um,
But I, yeah, she does go out and she goes to the camp and like she's pretty much hated by everybody because she is like a step above everybody else there.
Mhm.
But and that kind of doesn't make any friends for her. But like you said, now you can go into that one scene.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. She decides to show off in front of everybody, and she does a triple axel. She just like does it, but of course we don't see it. This is like the one time where the editing like kind of was weird because it does a close up of her spinning, and then it fades out to her getting yelled at because her coach is like, "Oh, never do a triple axel. It's just it's just a show off move or whatever." I'm guessing Lynn Holly Johnson couldn't do a triple axel. I mean, I know that's really hard to pull off, so they did not show that one.
Yeah, well, that was like a really like intense moment where like she drives
Hmm.
Lexi like out into like the middle of nowhere, and it's like
Hmm.
really odd. Like I'm like where is she taking her? And just like it's like I'm here to make you win the competition. It's like if you want to do show off moves, you need to just leave right now. So which is it going to be? Do you want to win or do you want to go home? And
She's like
she's just like,
crying.
yeah, she's like, I don't want to leave. I'm like,
Yeah, it's intense this whole movie. And
yeah,
yeah, and it keeps going because like Robbie Benson, Nick, calls her, and he's like, and he won't even say I love you to her because he's so like he's in a really tough place. And I guess she finds romance with an older man, a reporter. At first it was just kind of weird because she's standing like alone in the mirror, and he comes up and he's just kind of being nice to her, but then he starts to like put his hands around her, touch her shoulder, like, oh, they're a thing. Oh, okay, that's weird. That's
yeah,
really
that was
weird.
when I looked at it, I was like, how I had to look because I was like, how old is Lynn Holly Johnson like during the making
Yeah.
of this movie? And she's I think she was 20, but
Okay.
still,
But in
it's
terms of the movie, it's odd.
very odd because she's a very underage girl, and it's like this like grown man like newscasters like hitting on her. Uh,
Yeah. But yeah,
so
they kind of become a thing, and like she ends up doing really well, and of course she gets congratulated by the reporter, and guess who showed up? Nick, and he sees the whole thing. He sees her kiss. I think they kiss.
yeah,
Yeah, which that and once again another emotional scene of them yelling, and she's like, "Oh, I didn't think you'd be here." Like that's some excuse for
yeah.
that.
Well, because he's very because they send him to like some type of farm team out there,
Yes.
and so she thinks he's like really far away,
Hmm.
and like you could see like he's very clearly like in a bad place, like you said during that phone call. He's just like because
Hmm.
he doesn't feel like he's going anywhere, so he does end up quitting hockey altogether,
Hmm.
and she actually starts getting even more famous. Like she actually gets to she gets put on like the cover of Sports Illustrated and
It's a
all
really
this
a
stuff.
rise to fame.
Yeah, like very quickly, like
Yeah.
she's like becoming like a megastar.
Hmm.
Um, and she wins like the big competition, and like she's getting all this praise, and she's when Robbie Benson shows up, it's very much like he's like, hey, like you clearly chose figure skating over me, so go do your thing or whatever. And she's just like,
Hmm.
fine, I will, type of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, and then it sucks. I wish because I actually knew nothing about this movie going in. I don't know what the hell this was. Of course I read the Wikipedia before I watched the movie, and I really wish I didn't. I really wish I didn't because like it's very interesting. This movie's almost 2 hours long, and most of that runtime is just her rise to fame as a figure skater in this romance. I if you didn't know what this movie was, it had to have been like a complete shock about like an hour 30 in for the next scene that happens.
Oh yeah, and I'm like, so I knew about this movie for like 20 years at this point. I think I've known
Hmm.
about this movie, and I was because I used to watch VH1's like I Love the 70s,
Hmm.
and that was like one segment on
Oh wow.
there is like where they talked about this movie Ice Castles. And the thing is with like that show, is like, you don't really like if there's ever any piece of like media or whatever you see on that show, like don't watch it because they will like spoil everything in there.
Yes,
So like
yeah.
that's like so like in this one, they're like, oh, it's about a girl who's a figure skater and she goes blind. So I'm thinking in my head when I'm watching this movie, I'm like, okay, when's she gonna get blind? Like when is she gonna be blind? And like you said, it's like like over an hour into the movie, like
Hmm.
almost like we still have like a whole third of the movie left by the time like
Yeah.
she goes blind.
Yeah, I mean, even like the stuff you read on it, it's all about her being blind. It's all about blind. And so you think it's going to be like some cheesy movie where she's a blind figure skater or something. It's really not that. It's more about just like someone who really had potential, got big, and has it all stripped away from her very quickly.
Yeah, I mean she I really wish I didn't know it because that would have
Yeah.
been because it's like a plot twist.
Yeah, it is. It
And
is. Yeah. Because she
yeah.
ends up skating on a pool and she's just getting all her anger out. And she just trips and falls, smacks her head on the table in slow mo. Boom, she has no sight.
And what was that fall? That was like such
I
I
think it's supposed to be like, damn, this could happen to you. Like your clumsy ass, this would happen to you.
I don't even think she hit her head on the table.
I don't think so, no. And they show
Like
it.
like like it's like she's trying to do like the triple axel and she ends up like tripping on I think like the piece of like the cement or whatever or
Mhm.
something or like a
It's like a bump.
and she yeah, like a bump and she goes flying into the air and it's like this little like a metal patio table like out there
Hmm.
like you'd go sit like at like an outdoor restaurant or something and like to me it looks like she crashes shoulder first
Hmm.
into there and like and it's really awkward because all these chairs and the tables are like chained together and so like when she runs into the table it's like all the chairs and tables move like every single
Yeah.
one of them like move at the same time.
But did you notice the sound effects they added of chairs moving when she's
Yeah, like
crashing? It's like it's way funnier than it needs to be. Especially when it hard cuts to her getting a like a CAT scan. She's like has a shaved head. It's really depressing.
yeah, it's like this really like super over dramatic scene because she's out there like ice skating, getting on her frustrating. Everyone's just like staring at her through the
Yeah,
window,
yeah, because it's
like
like a huge mansion surrounding like a iced over pond or pool, and like they're all watching her through these gigantic windows. It's
yeah, like the whole
very
party,
odd
like
set
because she
piece.
she goes to the party and like she's just not having a good time at the party, and then when they're just all watching her at the same time, like oh, like what's she doing out there? And then when she crashes, like you said, she and the other thing too is they're like because they hard cut like you said where she's getting like an MRI or whatever or
Mhm.
CAT scan, and they're like, well, she woke up from the coma. Okay, I'm like, she was in a coma, like
Yeah, she's in a coma for a while. Yeah, and she has like some. She doesn't. She's in like blind in the fact that she sees permanently black. It's just hazy. It's just
yeah,
extremely
she
hazy.
could see shapes and stuff. It's just she just can't see like what's in front of her very well.
Yeah, and of course Tom Skerritt, he's like, I was right. I was right. We should have never sent her out there. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
So, but then like so she's very distraught and she pretty much just like goes and like she sits like in her because her mom's dead so she goes up to like the attic where like her mom's old clothes are and she just like wears her mom's old
yeah.
clothes.
It's he like becomes like a recluse, won't talk to anybody, and like her coach shows up and she's like, "Take your mom's sweater off now!" And just starts yelling at her and trying to rip it off. And she's like, "You're such a sad girl," and all this because she's sad because she lost her figure skating thing. But yeah, she's just like, it's a solid like 15 minutes of this movie where this girl is just depressed. And it's just
Yeah.
really like
Like,
it's very dramatic, as I
well,
keep
like
saying.
because I guess like her coach like also runs like the bowling alley and like her dad
Yep.
is just like
It's like a
angrily
bowling
bowling.
alley bar ice skating rink.
it's a really old bowling. It's not even like where they drop like the electric pin, like they drop the pins. It's like
Yeah.
they literally like you go, it'd be like you have to go out, you bowl, you knock the pins down, then you'd have to like walk all the way down to the end of the lane, put the pins back, and then bowl again. Like I know that's
No.
how they used to do it or whatever. I was like, oh my God, like can you imagine like you having to bowl like that?
No, I would never bowl. I would be like, I'm not a bowler. I can't do it. I'm not redoing that myself.
Yeah. So,
Mhm.
but yeah, he her dad and once again goes to drinking and everything, and um Robbie Benson out of nowhere just kind of shows up and he's just like giving her some tough love. It's just like, oh, so you're just a loser now, like
Yeah.
you're just
Yeah, I guess he's decided his like life goal now. He was gonna make up for it by being her coach. So like, yeah, he gives her tough love, like, oh, you can't skate? Huh? You can't skate without me, blind girl, and like forces her to skate alone without him. And then yeah, they train her to be able to just skate somewhat without the sight. She does it with her eyes closed.
yeah, and she does it without she does it without like the whole big fancy school and everything, and
Yeah.
they
And
she does get back to her former glory and like ability, like she gets a lot more confident, and they finally
mhm.
have got like this skating down packed, and
Yeah,
the
and they end up back together. She's like, I know you hate me, but I do love you. And they have a thing. And like I kind of wish there was more of this because the end of the movie is about the family getting together. The coach, the dad, Robbie Benson, and Lexie all getting together in a car and we're gonna take you out there and we're gonna have you skate and nobody's gonna know you're blind.
I mean, honestly, I mean, like, I know I picked this because of Romance Month, but honestly, my favorite part of this movie is actually the romance, like the chemistry between the two leads.
I agree. I
Yeah.
totally agree. No, so it's a great romance pick because I think the characters are realistic. At least Robbie Benson, he's very flawed, and I like that. He's a quitter. He doesn't really like know where he's at in life. He's not perfect. We've seen like if we can talk about another Lynn Holly Johnson movie where that had Watcher in the Woods, where the man is just completely boring. This guy actually has character, and it's something interesting.
What I like is like it does give both of them like their own arc. They
hmm
both make selfish decisions where they're just,
hmm
like he wants to go be, a hockey player, even though that's completely not suited for him. And,
hmm
she's kind of getting wrapped up in all this fame. And, so they're both very flawed individuals and they do come together with a common goal where it's like he does figure out what he wants to do and he loves her and she's
hmm
figuring out that she doesn't need to have sight. She still has all that talent inside of her. It's just, she just has to
hmm
work a little harder.
Yeah,
And
yeah, no, that works. The relationship does work here.
which is almost like I almost wish, like you said, I wish the blindness part like kind of happened earlier in the movie,
Yeah.
and we could have spent a little more time with like them like working through their problems because it does move a little too fast, I
Yeah,
think.
I agree. I mean, honestly, I think the beginning is fine. I think they could have added a little bit more because, like, once she goes there and she does the championship, movie's pretty much over. We're wrapping up.
Yeah. And she does get to go out and do another competition, but they choose not to tell anybody that she's blind because they don't want her they still want her to be able to be in the competition.
hmm
And that creepy newscaster shows up once again, Brian,
hmm
and just like, oh, like I still think about us all the time, and like he's still kissing her and stuff, and she's just like, and
I
she
don't
doesn't
like
say
you.
no to the kissing or anything, like she doesn't even resist the kiss. I'm like, your boyfriend is like outside of the dressing room like
Yeah,
right
in the
now.
other room. Yeah, and
Yeah,
and she's even like, "Oh, I had feelings for you, but I don't
yeah,
love you."
it's like, oh, okay, you still let him be a creep though, but
Yes.
and he figures out that she's blind, and Robbie Benson's like, you better not tell anybody, buddy. Like,
hmm
and he's like, so she goes out and does her routine, and it's amazing, and she's
hmm
getting all this praise, and because she was able to fool everybody, and not
hmm
know, but everybody starts throwing out roses to the
And they
crowd.
yeah, and they didn't account for Roses in her training.
And I was like, I mean, I don't know figure skating. I'm like, I guess you could trip over a rose with an ice skate.
I'm sure. I'm sure it's possible. You wouldn't just crush it?
I just thought you'd, if it's sharp enough, you just slice through the rose, but what do
No.
I know?
Those are some tough roses.
But she does crash and like, because everyone thinks she's better, like she's got her sight back, and
Mhm.
she crashes and falls, and Robbie Benson's there to pick her up, and everyone's just like, yeah, like they're still cheering for her and
Uh-huh.
going crazy, and they pretty much like declare their love for each other, like in front of everybody. He's like, I choose you, and like type of thing. It's like a very
Yes.
cheesy moment, but it's uh it's fitting with the theme of it. Then that's just kind of where the movie ends right there. Like, they're
Yeah.
kind of standing there in the middle of the ice rink. And
It,
personally, I didn't mind the movie that much. I mean, it's not like super enjoyable, but it's not bad. It wasn't bad for me.
no, no. When you do Romance Month, I don't know. Some of them hit for me, and this one I really liked. I did. It was sure it was sappy. Sure, it was overly emotional, but I thought it worked for me. I thought the beats were really good. I liked the story. Like you said, the romance was surprisingly good with realistic characters with flaws. I don't know. It was just nice to see. Um, yeah, the blind girl figure skating movie. I actually liked it quite a bit. I had a good time with it.
Well, good. I'm glad we both like this one because
Yeah.
I was thinking it was gonna be pretty cheesy, but I'm just like, man, like they just like they really took this one seriously.
They did. Yeah, yeah. They that blind that she goes blind so deep into the movie too. They didn't like play into that. I don't know. It's weird. There's a remake of this movie and I wonder how they play it.
Well, the remake of the one is actually directed by the same director of this movie too.
What?
So, which is like from 2010. Like he
Holy crap.
he yeah, he directs the remake as well.
Interesting.
Um,
I wonder how that is.
I don't know. I haven't heard it, but I did read like Lynn Holly Johnson was supposed to have like a cameo in it, but she got cut from the movie or whatever.
Oh my God. How do you get cut
Yeah.
from the movie?
But that's the main thing. Before we end the episode though, Nathan, I do want to read one thing that I
Mhm,
found. So I do look at IMDb's, trivia facts all the time.
mhm.
And it's like some of it's like, interesting to like totally like not related or like, oh, like these two people were in this movie. They were also in this movie together. It's like stuff
Yeah.
like that. It's not like super in depth or anything, but this one right here, it's like they wrote like a whole thesis. Like, and this is like
Oh my God.
this is like one trivia fact. This isn't broken. What I'm about to read you is not broken up. This is like
Oh my
one
God.
fact. And this is the this is for the trivia fact for this movie, Ice Castles.
Okay.
There is so much to compare and contrast between Ice Castles and the James Bond film For Your Eyes
Oh
Only.
my God.
Lynn Holly Johnson plays an Olympic striving girl with different perspectives. Lynn Holly Johnson characters were young women seeking to make it to the Olympics. I'll bet the theoretical Olympics would have been in the Russian Olympics. America boycotted for ice castles. Uh,
Huh?
but for the Bond film Sarajevo 1984 Winter Olympics, different Olympics, but each film had Lynn Holly Johnson shooting for one. Both heavily contrast her character and people about her and influences. Ice Castle's Alexis Winston is an exceptional ice skater who cannot get it together. Except for a boyfriend, she is focused on her sport shooting to be in the Olympics. For Your Eyes Only, BB, her character in the movie, is
Yeah.
exceptional. She can focus on other things like dating and seducing. 007. Ale- Alexis has a family and a boyfriend giving support and more. There's no reason why BB is alone with a trainer and a sponsor who doubles as a terrorist drug dealer. BB talks of the Olympics and hating her sponsor who wants her for her body using the Olympics goal to get her. Alexis has love and support, and even after she loses sight in an accident, BB can stick her thumb in her corrupt sponsor's eye and still have her dream. Only 007 might ruin that. In short, Len Holly Johnson plays a young, talented ice skater shooting for the Olympics, yet each girl has completely different backgrounds and barriers to it.
What? Did a crazy person write this? Someone who's like
Well,
unwell?
Well, Nathan, 3 out of 5 people found this interesting.
Yeah, they would. I mean, yeah, including you. I mean, like, I would if I saw that and read it, I would think it was interesting because it was bonkers, weird.
Yeah, it's not the facts in here are not interesting, but what you wrote is very like why you wrote that is very
Yeah,
interesting.
the ending where he's like, in short, that should have been the trivia fact.
Or it
Just
could
like,
have just said like she plays two characters that both have similar goals in mind, and that she plays or it could be like she plays aspiring skaters in both of these movies.
yeah,
Bam,
both
done.
movies. Yeah, easy. Odd. Very weird.
Yeah, very odd. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know, but I think that's a great note to end on, Nathan. I think, we
Mm-hmm.
both give it a recommend, so we're gonna we're gonna shut the book on ice castles, and then we're gonna move into what, Nathan?
All right, Ryan. Well, I think we should talk about Bond. Bond? Oh God, I almost said Bonju. That sounds horrible. Let's talk about let's talk about a Bond movie. Let's get right back to it. We are going to be talking about Spectre, which is streaming over on Amazon Prime, I believe.
All right, Nathan. Well, I'm gonna break it up since we're gonna take a little short break from the Gamma movie since we just ended on the last one not too long ago. I figure we'd have a little bit of a break before we get into the new one. So
Mhm.
we're going to talk about one that's not necessarily a kaiju movie. We're going to talk about one that's more of a superhero kaiju movie. And Nathan, we're going to be talking about 1975's Inframan.
Inframan. All right, let's do it.
And that one, you got to pay for that one. You got to pay real money to watch that one, but it's only like $1.99 to watch it. So just pay up.
Mhm. All
But
right. Well, we love paying up here.
But anyway, thank you so much for joining us for this week. We really do appreciate it. If you have any thoughts and opinions, please email us over at drivein-double-feature-podcast@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on X at DIDFpod. And once again, check out the Patreon at patreon.com/drivein-double-feature-podcast. But until next time.
Until next time.